world's gone to shit, but there's one thing I know. Oh, it's happened before, it'll happen again. Don't despair, don't give up. If you do, oh, they win. So we ride, keeping our heads down until we're on the other side. Oh, we ride, we ride this bullshit out. The game is rigged, the road is hard, but saddle up and play your cards and ride, keeping our heads down until we're on the other side. Oh, we ride, we ride this bullshit out. Everything's gone to hell, just can't trust anyone. All around us is nonsense. Get your boots, saddle up, take the reins, 'cause today we ride, keeping our heads down until we're on the other side. Oh, we ride, we ride this bullshit out. We ride it out. Ooh, ride. We'll always ride this bullshit out.
In our last episode, we gave an in-depth explanation about the relationship which occurred from two narcissists teaming up. We will now explain individual screenshots pertaining to the female narcissist. As we said in the last episode, danceinator Dirty Percy 6, traumatizedwi defended Grossbecken's behavior by playing it down and dismissing it. Why? Because she benefits from it and doesn't want to lose her supply. She is the parasite. Parasitic narcissists are a subtype of vulnerable or covert narcissist who differ from the more overtly arrogant, grandiose narcissist. The parasitic narcissist thrives off a host person utilizing shared resources. When a covert or vulnerable narcissist attaches to another narcissist, they form a highly unstable and competitive dynamic. Covert narcissists have the same core traits as their more obvious counterparts: a lack of empathy, a need for admiration, and a grandiose sense of self-importance. But they express these traits in more subtle, passive-aggressive, and parasitic ways. This is especially destructive when they pair with an overt or grandiose narcissist, because both parties are primarily motivated by satisfying their own needs for narcissistic supply at the expense of others.
This is why she purposely didn't explain his issues. In fact, when she mentions studying psychology, this is for a couple reasons. It makes her look like a caring, trusting person and gives her more validation. Is she really studying the subject?
In all honesty, this could go either way, both being not good. If she is honestly studying the course, it won't be to genuinely help others. It will be so that she can manipulate them into validating and supplying her with attention, money, sex, and other benefits, so that she may continue her emotional addiction cycle. She could also be completely lying and using this as a means for manipulation, simply to make herself look good. I'm honestly wondering if this isn't the more likely reasoning, because actually studying psychology would cause her to confront her own weaknesses. Unless she can manipulate and play them down, using them for her own benefit, it won't do her any good. It is still a possibility, unfortunately. If she is, she may also be studying, as I said, so she can learn more effective ways to manipulate others and gain more enablers.
But today was not the day I saw a glint of fire in those crooked-looking eyes.
They found Scrooge McDuck's gold hoard.
And he said out loud, although nobody had asked, I'm just a dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere.
This is the foolproof motherlode for them.
Well, foolproof, if only in their minds.
Both Dance and Gross constantly mention Miss Gresley being the predator and pedophile. This is done for several reasons, one of which is because this is their most effective smear campaign. It works because it easily gains them enablers who believe them without a doubt and may help some of them satisfy their own biases against Miss Gresley. Miss Gresley had mentioned how some of them had butted heads with her over their own immature behavior. This might be their way of enacting revenge on her for their own emotional satisfaction. It's incredibly damaging and stress inducing, which gives both Dance and Gross an incredible emotional high. They have a constant, reliable, increasing supply of the drug that fuels their destructive behavior. Gross Pickens, who is EP on Discord, even brags about Dance being his ally without directly naming her. He hints at who she is by saying she was 29 at the time the screenshot was taken.
This is intentional. He and Dance mutually benefit from this. They are not only two separate narcissists, but they are also each other's enablers for their own validation. They work with each other, and their intentions don't conflict, so they appear to get along. In that same screenshot, Gross also intimidates the minor he is talking to. This minor was one of the original targets of his bullying prior to him shifting focus to Miss Gresley. You can see that in how, despite the fact that he intimidates and threatens the boy, the subject of his abuse is Miss Gresley. He's attempting to use Miss Gresley as a tool against them. He might have hoped he could intimidate her enough that she would give in and join his supply. He was probably aware that wouldn't happen.
Notice too how Gross constantly brings Miss Gresley up in conversation, related or not. Big shocker here, but Dance does the same, even after the initial conflict was over. The reasoning for this was because Miss Gresley continued to be an effective target for her. By mentioning Miss Gresley, she knew she would gain support from enablers when she needed. This is why she was able to do this after she had gotten Miss Gresley kicked off Reddit.
In addition, she was able to seek out mutual supporters on Tumblr and use them by proxy because they were able to enable her and spread her agenda without her needing to be there. Unless she was there in secret, she and they benefited from the pain and distress they caused Ms. Gresley. Do we want to believe Gross actually blocked her? Unless he was doing a discard on her, this would most likely be a convenient lie to manipulate with. In fact, the idea that she still defends him years later further backs this up. It's a convenient excuse for validation at various times.
They constantly mention you doxing people. Did you dox any of them?
No, but several of them tried to dox me on multiple occasions. They also tried to look up my criminal record. Luckily for me, I don't have one. I only know that Gross's first name is Dylan from the screenshots and messages with others. I don't know more than that. Dance's brother lists his surname as McKee on his social media sites. That's as far as I know. This is all publicly viewable information.
And we have the old reliable ad hominem attacks. What is the reasoning for this?
In simplest terms, validation. They don't have any facts, but they know their manipulation tactics, and they achieve the desired result. Just like with Gross, she gets a high at Miss Gresley's expense. This is also why she carries on with the whole pedo false accusation. They use this as a way to look for more ammo. Someone else shared what might have been Gross's first name. He didn't even acknowledge whether it was or not. Originally, Gross had accused another one of the minors Miss Gresley was defending as doxing him, and then changed the story when it became convenient. This became an easy story to spread for further validation, along with the rest of their litany of false accusations. They are entertained by each other's infliction of pain on their innocent victim. Because they had all become an emotional extension of Gross and Dance's negativity, they also seek validation and lack empathy as a unit. It's almost as if they are under a spell as they inflict negativity and trauma in unison. The false pedo accusations are projection. Both Dance and Gross publicly exhibit sexually disturbing comments and behavior. This is a reflection of their behaviors. They want Miss Gresley to take the blame so that they can avoid being seen as the real predators and being called out for it.
Notice too how someone makes a ridiculous false allegation which doesn't even make sense, saying Miss Gresley licks her neighbor's cat. They likely either just made this up off the cuff or took a story Miss Gresley shared and twisted it to cause more harassment at Miss Gresley's expense. This gives gross, dance, and their enablers emotional validation by extension. As you can see, logic plays no role in this. They simply feed off each other's negativity for validation. This is also why they were perfectly fine with people sending her death threats. They didn't try to intervene or discipline these people for their comments, because again, these comments provided validation for gross dance and their enablers. Dance says in a post that for being so innocent, Miss Gresley is acting very guilty. This is another clear act of projection. This is a tactic to keep the heat off Gross and Dance. In reality, it isn't Miss Gresley who is acting guilty. It doesn't matter to this lot because they simply feed off what each other says and will agree to anything at this point. It doesn't matter how ridiculous or fictitious the statement is, they feed into it. Factual evidence challenges narcissists' inflated self-images and exposes their manipulative behaviors.
Dance shifts blame again by claiming that a statement she made was used against her when it wasn't. The comment was when she called herself a slut. She makes a comment to another person on Reddit regarding black and white thinking, unrelated to the Thomas fandom incident. If you read the post, it makes no sense. This was done on purpose to distract the person so she can avoid further communication with them. Dance mentions that Ms. Gresley calls her names again. Ms. Gresley asked her to speak to others about Gross's behavior. She purposely twisted the story around and betrayed the trust. Instead of spreading outreach on the behalf of Ms. Gresley and the people she was defending, she secretly sided with Gross to manipulate and harass Ms. Gresley for her own benefit.
As mentioned before, Dance makes many sexually inappropriate comments. Like gross, this is a common narcissistic trait. Narcissists may use sexually explicit content to affirm their sense of self, seek sexual rewards, and maintain an inflated self-image. They view sex as an opportunity to gain validation and boost their attractiveness rather than for emotional intimacy. This can manifest as a desire for sex, a positive orientation towards sexual experiences, and in some cases, exploitative behaviors if the narcissist feels their needs are not met. Narcissists use sex to feel more attractive and superior, seeking validation of their sexual prowess to reinforce their self-image. Narcissistic individuals may devalue the communal aspects of a relationship, such as emotional intimacy, to focus on their own sexual needs and rewards. Their sexual goals are often self-focused, driven by a desire to achieve a sense of identity, attractiveness, or emotional regulation, according to Cooper et al., 1998. People with high narcissistic traits tend to be positively oriented towards sex, which is associated with more frequent and satisfying sexual experiences. Narcissistic individuals are prone to disengaging from sexual relationships when they no longer provide the desired self-affirmative benefits. Due to their low empathy and high hostility, narcissists may engage in forceful or aggressive sexual behaviors to fulfill their own desires. Sex is not about pleasure, but power for the narcissist. Their life is propelled by actions, not by emotions and intimacy.
Oh, yeah. Dance did make a comment about how it's been 10 years and it was time to ditch her one boyfriend, as if he had reached an expiration date. So, yep, that checks out.
She had continued her behavior in her server. Earlier in 2025, a YouTuber named Lemmy made a video about another predator, which was great work. Ms. Gresley had worked with one of the minors who had been bullied by gross pecans to expose him. The minor was able to contact him with the collection of screenshots and have the video made. Dance stalked the comment section and found Ms. Gresley's comments. Dance saw this as an opportunity to again target Ms. Gresley and gain another enabler for validation. Poof.
Was Zach the one who had a tantrum along with Dance over Miss Gresley allowing a minor to be a moderator?
Yes, that was him. That was most assuredly another distraction to derail the conversation and deflect attention off of them.
Notice how Lemmy has been pilled into this. Zach was the other person who originally had a tantrum with Dance over the moderation situation. He had been silent until the right moment came to pop up and contribute. Why? He was a willing enabler. Most of the other members had moved on. Burning Ocean was spying and was trying to pretend to be an enabler by following along. This will become relevant. Notice how they laugh at the collecting of evidence and try to act dismissive. This is again to save their own ego. Zach now mentions about making sexual references to a minor. That's right, another story twisted for validation. We also get the obligatory Chris Chan comment somewhere in this, right on cue. The original stories were other false accusations. Ms. Gresley has made it clear that she was not interested in anyone and had no desire to make any inappropriate references. This was also done for validation. Notice how they all feed off the comment.
Gotta love how Dance makes a comment about Miss Gresley with an inappropriate image. This is an abuse tactic. Gross used sexually offensive posts and comments regarding Miss Gresley, and Dance used this. She doesn't really have such an image and frankly is probably jealous of Miss Gresley and thus made the comments. Again, everyone feeds into it. Miss Gresley never sent an inappropriate image to a minor, but it has the desired effect. It gives those who seek the validation what they want. They all interact, keeping the validation going, like a one-sided verbal volleyball game. They're just trying to keep that ball up in the air, passing it around to each other.
Lemmy then makes up a story for his own turn at being validated. He claims he ran across Miss Gresley at the New Jersey Transit Museum. This sounds plausible enough, until you find out it's a logical fallacy. There is no such thing as the New Jersey Transit Museum. There is a transit museum in New York, but not in New Jersey, according to Google Maps. The closest thing is the New Jersey Museum of Transportation in Wall Township. Zach mentions the dress Miss Gresley wore. Dance mentions how she won't track Ms. Gresley down because she doesn't care. This is again projection. Because she was stalking Ms. Gresley. She wouldn't have felt the need to make Lemmy an enabler if she hadn't. Dance wasn't mentioned in Lemmy's video, and unless Haru was an associate of hers, she would have little care about the video otherwise. Dance makes a comment about Ms. Gresley being both manipulated and being the manipulator. This is projection, and is true of Dance. Zach claims that Ms. Gresley is a liar, but his comment intentionally makes no sense. Zach then tries to tie Ms. Gresley's childhood trauma to the false accusations they make about her. Again, Ms. Gresley isn't the liar Dance, Zach, Lemmy, and anyone else participating in this verbal abuse circle jerk are. Lemmy just has to get defensive. The irony is that by being Dance, and by extension, Gross's enablers, Emmy and Zach are supporters of predators. This makes them predators and willing participants in abuse. Zach then proceeds to get defensive, confessing what meds he is on. He does this because he wants to feel validated as well. Notice how they add to the situation, but they lack sympathy for each other. Now, Lemmy doesn't know Miss Gresley at all. In fact, he kicked her out of his Discord and ended communication with her when he switched sides and defended Dance. He knows absolutely nothing about her meds and how she feels about them. He read that Grossbeckens, people from Tumblr, and other harassers use this insult, so he decided to throw it in there to throw another coal on the fire. Zach then brings up the idea of turning Miss Gresley in for abusing her disability funds. It's worded so it doesn't sound like a threat, but it's definitely an attempt at intimidation. Whether to actually attempt to do anything to Miss Gresley or to just stir up more insults, it works. Zach claims Normal told him her real name.
Normal is my real name. For all it matters, I should tell them that it's Patricia. Also, I've mentioned before that I'm not anti-medicine.
As we mentioned before, logic doesn't work here. They don't run on the same logic that other people do. Their form of logic is what can I throw out in the void for validation by abusing the target. This also secures my role in the cult, like collective. Lemmy now tries to get in on the doxing of Mrs. Gresley for a reaction. He also tries to play stupid intention, again for a reaction. He could have very easily Googled the name, but didn't do so intentionally. In addition, elsewhere in the files, the friend of Gross who sent pornographic videos to the minor Miss Gresley defended went by Gav Funeral, Snakes and Diesels, and possibly Mr. Smudger, among other names. This is a coded nod to that, and has been brought up several times throughout the screenshots by various enablers. They are just regurgitating past hits. Burning then made a completely innocent comment about someone's weight being mocked. It might have been a reference to Miss Gresley. Lemmy pretends to mock up a wanted poster with a non-existent photo. Mind you, this is a kid who is supposed to have a wife or fiancé, and he's rather too enthusiastic to be discussing the potential of looking at an older woman's breasts. Surely there's nothing the least bit disturbing about that. He does get his validation and returns it to Dance and Zach. This is where things start to become interesting. Notice that in these screenshots, Dance, Lemmy and Zach barely talk to Burning. In fact, as the conversation carries on, they interact with her less and less. The trio interact most with each other because they are giving each other the validation. They are feeding each other's egos like a buffet. Why are they barely interacting with Burning? Burning will soon be experiencing the narcissistic discard. Lemmy is trying extremely hard by dialing into the false narrative. Imagine being able to live with yourself as you make such disgusting false accusations and insults against an innocent person for the sake of attention.
About bringing up addiction, this is ironic because Dance and the gang are addicted to the drugs of validation and attention.
I was going to take Gros Picants to court to get the abusive posts taken down, and for him to have repercussions after the harassment he inflicted on us.
Bringing up the past to deflect and redirect the conversation is also a common narcissistic tactic. That's what is going on here. It didn't have as much of the effect she desired. It didn't land as well as she hoped. So Zach helps her out with an ad hominem attack, which sticks and has the desired effect. It helps them continue the targeted insults.
Going back to Lemmy's comment about the New Jersey Transit Museum, I had a friend pose as a lurker. The lurker asked Lemmy if Nirmal was alone. Of course, Lemmy answered yes. I was expecting this. I've been to New Jersey and PA in the last couple years, but with my best friend, not alone. We have also travelled to upstate New York for the day on a train excursion. I have never been to Wall Township. If I had seen Lemmy and his girl in person, I wouldn't have attempted conversation. I don't feel comfortable talking to male-female couples. I've been manipulated in the past and abused by several. I prefer to avoid them. I also don't feel comfortable if they start to do PDA or call each other by annoying pet names. It'd be more fun to watch them fight with each other than put on a fake show. That's utterly nauseating. Having to interact with couples or seeing anything romantic or sexual makes me incredibly upset. I'm not jealous or attracted. I am genuinely repulsed by it, as if I am being forced to see something that I shouldn't.
Zach mentions how she's searching for Miss Gresley's real name. Of course, Dance reacts to it as they exchange validation.
Yes, these ad hominem attacks are done on purpose. They are also meant to distract from facts because they sound plausible enough. Since no one in the situation cares to actually seek out facts, these comments work. They encourage more insults, accusations, and other abusive comments. Zach mentions how she's searching for Miss Gresley's real name. Of course, Dance reacts to it as they exchange validation.
The informant tries to seek out more information about Miss Gresley by playing devil's advocate. Dance avoids communicating because she has no real evidence and is paranoid. She does, however, mention that Miss Gresley will use this as evidence against her, even though they haven't spoken in 2 years. Miss Gresley has blocked Dance and hasn't talked to her. Dance, however, has occasionally brought up Miss Gresley's name on occasion for her own benefit. She is paranoid that her weaknesses will be revealed, which is why she won't show the supposed evidence. This is paired with the fact that she has none. Dance tries to deflect by saying that the reason she stopped supporting Miss Gresley was because of the person who Miss Gresley made a mod. Why is this relevant? Dance was jealous that he got the attention and that she wasn't being validated. She had to look for a more viable source of validation, and thus being why she supported Gross. She didn't give a shit about Gross's lack of morals. She was only invested in her own needs.
Remember that taking the things narcissists say as face value is a fatal mistake. Narcissists are liars because it is a core behavior used to maintain their fragile, grandiose self-image, gain attention, manipulate others for personal benefit. Their dishonesty serves to protect their ego and secure a false sense of superiority by twisting reality to their advantage. Narcissists often have deep-seated feelings of inadequacy and worthlessness. They create an elaborate, inflated self-image to compensate for this low self-esteem, using lies to present themselves as more special, successful, and enviable than they truly are. Confrontation and criticism threaten the narcissist's carefully constructed image and can lead to intense feelings of shame. To avoid this, they lie, deny, and deflect blame, often doubling down on falsehoods even when presented with evidence. For a narcissist, being exposed for a mistake is deeply painful. Lying is a defense mechanism to prevent this emotional injury and protect their brittle sense of self-worth.
Narcissists depend on external validation and admiration, or narcissistic supply, to regulate their self-esteem. They use lies to hook their victims and keep them invested, providing an ongoing source of praise and attention. One of the most destructive tactics is gaslighting, a form of lying where the narcissist twists facts to make a person question their own memory and sanity. By distorting reality, they erode their victim's confidence and maintain control over them. A narcissist may fabricate stories of illness, accidents, or other people's wrongdoings to gain sympathy and deflect attention from their own actions. This evokes misplaced empathy and allows them to continue their manipulative behavior unchecked. Because narcissists often lack genuine empathy, they can lie convincingly without feeling shame or guilt over how their dishonesty affects others. Narcissists operate with a sense of entitlement, believing they deserve to get what they want, regardless of the social contract. This mindset allows them to rationalize lying to serve their own needs without concern for ethical standards. While many narcissistic lies are deliberate manipulations, some narcissists may engage in self-deception and come to believe their own fabrications. In either case, the dishonesty is rooted in their need for control and admiration. Unlike the situational or white lies most people tell, a narcissist's lies are often habitual and deeply ingrained in their personality. Their dishonesty is an intrinsic part of how they navigate the world.
Notice that when people asked her why the Thomas subreddit shut down, she jumped at the chance and had them DM her. This was another chance to gain an enabler. She has another comment where she defends Gross by dismissing his comments as edgy humor. While she makes Miss Gressley the obviously worst choice. For validation? Yep. It's a pattern meant to wear down her target and her target's supporters, while she feeds off the attention she gets from it. The hurt she causes Miss Gressley makes her feel better. And we finish off with a few more insults directed at Ms. Gressley.
Phew. That was a lot to go through, but we aren't done yet. In the next episode, we will look at screenshots reflecting more inappropriate behavior and comments Dance has engaged in apart from her insulting Ms. Gressley.
Atop a burdened donkey rode a stranger into town, tilted in the saddle, one leg dragging on the ground. He had crooked eyes, a crooked nose, could look both ways as he crossed the road. The rope that held his pants up was barely even tied. He slid off his steed and took a big swig from a flask. Then he said out loud, although nobody had asked, I'm just a dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. He had bloodshot eyes, a dripping nose. Then through all the chaos we all started hearing clops. He was the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. Look, my friends, are you sure you wanna go there? Said the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. Oh, to my surprise, I saw a glint of fire in those crooked looking eyes. He was the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. The dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. And it sure was a sight to see. They set 10 men up, he knocked 10 men down, and any man who took a stand was sentenced then to die. He was a dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. He was the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere. Oh, the dumb fuck from bumblefuck nowhere.